Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the drum room. Well, yes, that's quite a fancy name that we coined for our webinar where we talk about different things. And this is the second one that we are having as a part of Politics for a Change. Before we move on to the discussion and we have our, speaker introduction, I would just want to bring to limelight certain things. Primarily, what is politics for a change? What exactly is politics for a change, and why was this started? So, the intention is that the common masses of India must embrace politics, must understand politics, and political discussions must be a part of household discussions. It must not be limited to parliaments. It should not be limited to assemblies and things like that. And that is why Politics for a Change came forward, and we've had very good response from people across India, and our community has been functioning well on WhatsApp. And it is also to understand that the young people in the Indian scenario as of today, we are aware that India is a young country, and the young people understand and they sort of make politics a part of their life, because what we see today is that youngsters often keep saying that I'm not political, I'm apolitical. So that's something that we try to overcome, making that it's a part of your life and it's a part of what you do on a daily basis. You should be concerned about politics because politics is absolutely concerned about you. And that's what Politics for a Change is all about. Well, today is our second webinar, like I said, and I, as editor-in-chief of News Hamster, and of course, a core member of Politics for a Change, welcome all of you. And before we go forward again, I would like to introduce what is News Hamster. We are one of the fastest growing digital media portals here in based out of Bangalore. We cover various facets, including politics and fact check and entertainment and viral stuff. But our focus is more on Karnataka politics and Bangalore-centric issues, like civic issues, infrastructure issues, so on and so forth. We have garnered about 3 to 4 million views in the previous year, and we are trying to, get some more. We have a team of young people who are very much serious about journalism, and they are working forward towards it. Keeping all this aside, I'm hoping that I have introduced us, or you could say introduce ourselves. I would like to move forward with the introduction of the speakers. First of all, I would like to introduce Bhavya Narsimhamurthy. Ma'am, welcome to today's webinar. She is the spokesperson of Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee. She has been a part of several campaigns that we have seen. One that we have tracked ourselves is the KPCC exam campaign that she was spearheading, and she brought some striding changes here in Karnataka. She's also lieutenant in the Territorial Army. Once again, Bhavya ma'am, we welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Vijay Prasad. Mr. Vijay Prasad is a spokesperson of the BJP, and he's also heading the research wing. He has defended the party across vernacular media with regards to various issues. He's taken part in various campaigns and been an effective spokesperson for the party. Vijay Prasad ji, we welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us. You can turn on your videos. It'll be fantastic. The people around here would love to see you guys. Next, I would like to welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening to all.
Good evening, sir. Next, I would like to welcome Mr. Sanjay Jog. Sanjay Jog is a very renowned journalist. He's been in the field of journalism for almost 30 plus years, worked across publications and channels like Financial Express, Free Press Journal, so on and so forth. As of now, he's the contributing editor at the IANS. Thank you, Sanjay ji. Thank you so much for joining us and giving time.
I'm unable. Just there is some problem at your end.
So you're absolutely audible. You can turn on your camera.
No, I'm doing that, but I'm now. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Last
thanks.
but not the least, we have a very good friend of mine, Anuj Rayate, who has a very vast experience in digital media. Like we see, it's the future of today. And currently, he's working as a reporter at NDTV. And he's special today for us because he has covered the Maharashtra elections from the ground, and he knows the reality of what the people have, out there are speaking. So today's drum room is about these guys and how they dissect the current elections that we saw, the by-elections that we saw. Once again, thank you all for joining us. So it's just that you guys have 10 minutes to present your thoughts about what exactly you've been speaking about. And then once the panel discussion is complete, we'll move forward for a Q&A session by people here. We'll have a lot of questions. So I would like to start with Bhavya ma'am, because she's been a part of the Congress party, perhaps seen the striding victory that Congress has achieved this time. And I would love to understand what she has to say and how she would be dissecting it.
Hello, everyone. So am I supposed to speak in only English, or is this like,
I think English would be perfect.
Okay. So starting with Karnataka, because I witnessed it, I was a part of the campaign. I was in charge of Chennapatna from my party, where the by-elections were there, as a general secretary in charge. So first of all, we won all three by-election seats. And this is a mandate that people have given us. In fact, our government, the Congress government, which is in power in Karnataka, and our 5 guarantees. This is a complete witness to the success of our 5 guarantees, how people have accepted our government and its rule. Second point is how the people of Karnataka have totally rejected the hate politics of center against the Karnataka government. And every issue that we have taken up, starting from tax devolution to recently how the NABARD, has reduced its allocation towards Karnataka in giving loans to the farmers. Every issue that we have taken against center, people have given their mandate towards us. So this can be taken as the reason for the success of Karnataka government, and mostly because even after giving BJP a mandate in parliamentary elections, as we know, last time also they had sent some 25 MPs there, and this time around 16 or 17 MPs from BJP, but none of them have actually spoken for Karnataka. So next MP elections, we are very sure Karnataka is going to give a complete mandate to Congress party. Coming to Jharkhand, we did not hear much about Jharkhand and its elections and the victory that our alliance partners had as a part of the alliance we had, mostly in the media. You might have only seen Maharashtra elections, very few news about Karnataka elections, and Jharkhand was totally neglected in most of the media channels. But we won there, and what was defeated was that Ghuspetia, whatever, that Hindi, forgive my broken Hindi, how they tried to fill Jharkhand also with their hate and divisive politics. In fact, Jharkhand is not even surrounded by international borders. What do they mean by Ghuspetia? Like, are they blaming like Bihar or Uttar Pradesh, which surround Jharkhand, where their own alliance partner or they are in power, that they are sending their migrants inside the Jharkhand and they're against these states? We don't know. So anyways, the people of Jharkhand have given a complete mandate. They have shown BJP their place, their narrative, which they're not going to accept, and their anti-tribal laws and everything, their policies, which are anti-SC, ST, and all of these. Coming to Maharashtra, yes, they have won. It was a complete surprise and disappointment to Congress, the results of Maharashtra. And just 7 months ago, the people of Maharashtra did not want to give BJP its mandate. But this time, they wanted BJP. So does that mean people of Maharashtra do not want Narendra Modi's leadership, but BJP in Maharashtra? And we all know about how the voter turnout kept on increasing on the election website, even after the elections and even till the day of counting. There are lots of news about tampering of EVMs or voter turnout or election commission, which is not been fair at all. And yes, there is this counter argument that BJP presents, saying, oh, when you win, you don't blame the election commission. But when you lose, you blame the election commission. Of course. You know what? We are saying you're tampering with the election process, but we didn't say you're fools. You can't go on tampering with every elections across the country, in every by-election, every assembly election, every parliamentary election. That will be like foolproof that you're tampering. You're being smart in, knowing where you want to win, how you can tamper with the election commission and its process of election, and where you should not. Maharashtra was important for all of us. And we still believe there is something out there, and there will be investigation, hopefully. And other by-elections, as we know. I would like other panelists to speak up so that we can later take on the arguments or the questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. I would request Mr. Vijay Prasad to come in, specifically pointing out what's happened in Karnataka and, of course, in UP as well.
Okay. A very good evening to all the participants and very good evening, Sakline. See, as far as the by-election is concerned, I would like to say a couple of things. What I have seen physically in the two places where I was literally present in Sandur and as well as in the Shigao. The first thing what I'd like to ask is by-election and yardstick to measure the party's performance? That is the first thing that I would like to ask. Okay. And when a party which has 135 MLAs, definitely it shows its might to win all the 3 seats which went to polls. When the government, incumbent government, which has all the facilities, men, machinery on its side, can the government afford to lose those 3 by-election seats? Definitely what I would like to say and point out here is the result is based on the local issues and the influence of the incumbent government. And one more thing I would like to point out here is the voters could have been lured and misled. Okay. Having said that, we gracefully accept the people's mandate and continue to raise the corruption or issue of corruption, zero development, pathetic financial condition of the state in the last 18 months, no new investment, crumbling infrastructure, drop in FDI inflow, inefficient administration. These are some of the key things which is bringing down the image of Karnataka. See, this government is in state for the last 18 months. And can the government bring out a white paper as to what they have done to the state in the last 18 months? Have they rolled out the guarantees which they promised effectively? In my understanding, looks like no, because since we are part of the ecosystem day in and day out, obviously the people are not happy. What have they promised? It is not reaching the people. The second thing what I would like to bring out here is which took out the people of Karnataka by striking. This one is the BPL card holders cards which are being cancelled without any notice or giving any reasons for the cancellation. And the recent thing, it shows the pathetic administration of the Congress. Maternity deaths. Maternity deaths have crossed 38 and infant deaths have crossed the double digit. And the government is clueless and is running like a headless chicken. I would like to ask the Congress representative and the Congress administration, where is the government? Where is the administration? On the sidelines. See, these are some of the bad things which is affecting the state of Karnataka. On the other side, we have our Home Minister who gone to say, if there is a power sharing agreement between Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar, why should they be there? They can as well go home, pack their bags and then go home. Let them run the government. Let these two people run the government. We are not required. And DK Shivkumar talks about 50-50. I don't know what 50-50 means in his parlance. Initially, we thought it is about the 50-50 administration time. Certainly, if you see the current scenario, it is certainly not the 50-50 administration sharing. It is about the 50-50 loot sharing. That's what I feel. If you see the amount of scams that this government is looking into, be it Valmiki scam, excise scam, the misappropriation of the SC/ST funds, which is close to around 25,000 crores, Valmiki scam 187 crores, 700 crores of excise scam, 5,000 crores of Moda scam. They are talking about the 50-50 sharing of the looted money. See, and other thing, Congress always question about the ethics. As far as about the ethics, see, I would like to ask the Congress representative: is it not unethical on the Congress to transfer the Gruhalakshmi scheme money of 2,000 rupees just one day before the election in those 3 districts? Is this not luring of the voters? Winning by-election using dirty money, nothing new to Congress while in power. The question of considering, what I feel is, the question of considering the defeat in this election as a setback does not arise at all. We need to just move forward. Okay, Congress drumbeat and say guarantee successful, and Maharashtra should follow and implement the Karnataka model. Then why did they lose Maharashtra election? What is the reason for losing the Maharashtra election? And having said all those things, Congress president has gone on record. President Mallikarjun Kharge has gone on record and said he doubts EVM in Maharashtra, but says EVM is working fine in Karnataka and Wayanad, and even in Jharkhand. Congress representative, I would like to remind the Congress representative who is on the show that you should not be crybabies, because the Supreme Court has shown your place as far as the EVM is concerned. And to end up my a bit of about the election and other things, what I would like to say is hypocrisy is in the DNA of Congress. Congress has become like a parasite and amoeba. To put it in political terms, Congress has become secondary party in its own Indy alliance. Even within Indy alliance, nobody wants Congress. So we can sum up and say, what is the Congress's role as far as the present political scenario in the nation? We have to see in the larger perspective. And to see, I can go on and on and on and say about what Congress has done to this nation. And we have been witness in the last 40 years, we have been witness to what are all the Congress has done. And really to ask whether this 3 by-election in Karnataka, has it really bogged down us? Certainly not. What we call it as BJP will never care about this one. We always believe in charai veti, which means we just move on, walk, and then take the preventive measures wherever the correction has to be done. We certainly do it, and we just move on. That's it. I would like to put forth these points as far as my argument is concerned. Thank
Right,
you
sir.
much.
That was on point for us to understand your take. Bhavya ji, I would like to come in on the promises part that Mr. Prasad has spoken. So how exactly has it reached people, or has it not reached people? Is certainly a question that a lot of people, across the state want to understand if that is the right thing. And of course, he talks about the 50-50 is very interesting analogy, particularly from the opposition. I would like you to come in on that, please.
First of all, about guarantees, I don't understand the hypocrisy that Mr. Prasad just presented. Sometimes he has a problem if we deliver our guarantees. Sometimes he complains that we did not deliver. Coming to Shakti, even today, across the state, every woman can travel free of cost in public transport, buses. There is no doubt about it. Coming to Griha Lakshmi, there were some technical glitch which were sorted, and sometimes 2 months, sometimes 3 months, it was deposited on time. So, and the problem he had that the previous day it was deposited or the 2 days before it was deposited, it's a government process. Government works different, completely, different, and party is totally different. The problem with BJP is the name calling that just Mr. Prasad kept using, crybabies and that that was expected. Of course, they're all schooled by Mr. Narendra Modi, who doesn't even respect women, and he name calls, right? That's totally fine. I'm not going to get personal with anyone because of that, or even blame BJP or use names like that, because Congress doesn't have that culture. And coming to 50-50 or coming to, I don't really know what he speaks about when he says 50-50, and when he says guarantees have not reached. On what basis are you even saying that guarantees have not reached? I don't understand. The people of Karnataka have shown your hypocrisy a mirror. You people speak against nepotism, but among the 3 tickets you gave, 2 of them were given to ex-chief minister's children. One from JDS, who is your alliance partner, and one your own ex-chief minister, Bomai's son. It's a reflection of your hypocrisy and the result of your hypocrisy that people have shown you your place. And why don't you just gracefully accept the defeat? And when you speak about, I've just explained it to you. Why when you call us cry babies, come on, we are expressing genuine concern. The website of Election Commission, if you see, the voter turnout kept increasing, the percentage. How will you explain that? And when the the counting, some of the rounds were way ahead of the updates that Election Commission website had. Our candidates have seen in Maharashtra. That's the reason, with a genuine concern for our democracy, with a genuine concern for our country, we have expressed these. And of course, like I said, you're not fools to move around and win every election possible. Wayanad, if you tamper there, you will be exposed totally, because we have complete mandate. In Karnataka, you knew we are a success. Our government is a success and people have accepted us. And you can't tamper here. You won't dare tamper here, because it was a given that we are going to win all 3. But in Maharashtra, you had a way to work with it. You did tamper Election Commission, and today or tomorrow, it's not going to take a lot of time for it to come out. In this era, many journalists, sincere journalists, are speaking against it. And once, yes, Supreme Court might have said, no, you people are very clean and you have not tampered. But once the evidence comes out, like it's totally out there. How can the Election Commission website show different numbers in turnout? Even after the election, until the counting day, what does that even mean? So someday you will be exposed. But that doesn't mean you are fools that you'll go and tamper everywhere. And don't call us crybabies. If we were crybabies, we wouldn't be contesting, no matter how many times we lost. Crybaby was Narendra Modi when he came out with the list of the names and a list of complaints he had to people. He had to complain that people are calling me this, they're complaining against me like this, instead of, talking about the real issues during parliament. That kind of an behavior is called crybaby behavior. Not when you actually show concern for democracy and speak facts and put it in front of the people as to what is happening in this country, which is unconstitutional and against the democracy. As an opposition party, as a leader of opposition, our leader had to speak against this. And come on, we all know what happened in Sambal violence. and how you people are stopping the leader of opposition of the country from visiting the place. You can't handle a state where you have been in power for the past 10 years, almost 10 years now. The violence keeps happening. The communal violence is at extremes. Youngsters, youth are losing their lives because of your hateful politics and your hateful speeches. And you don't even want the leader of opposition to come there. You're scared of him. That's the fear he has instilled in your people, that you won't even allow him to visit the place there.
Bhavya ji, I would like to come in there. I think we've gotten a perspective. Be that as it may, I would like to move on to Mr. Sanjay and want to understand more of particularly the Maharashtra election as of now. We've got a clear idea. And what has been the situation? Let us analyze it more of, because, sir, you're looking at it from the point of view of the people, not from a party per se. So what has been the situation and what has led to, and of course, I would also love if you could talk about a little bit about Bengal and, related aspects.
Yeah, thank you. Let me focus rather. I'm not entering into any kind of a verbal duel. That's a job of a political spokesperson. I am here basically covering Maharashtra for almost now 38 years. Couple of interesting things happened in the present elections. Just 5 months before, BJP-led Mahayuti was washed out. I mean, they had expected to be, getting about, their Ghoshana used to be what? Out of 48, 40 plus, 45 plus. But they ultimately had back about 17 seats. What Mr. Devendra Fadnavis was all the time telling is that there was difference of just 1.5% what the votes polled by the Mahavikas Aghadi, which managed to win about 31 seats. Look at quite interesting thing. During that time, Mahavikas Aghadi was as if in a scenario कि बस हमें जाके वोट करके लेना है और बस we will be there in power, because the overall equations they were putting is that as they have won about 31 seats multiplied by 6 means they are having about 180 seats in their back or in their kitty. That was the foolishness on the part of the Mahavikas Aghadi, but they were in the impression that they will definitely manage to take on Mahayuti on certain couple of key issues. But what has changed then? Lot of things. Mr. Fadnavis, although was initially kind of a depressed guy, just took up this entire, responsibility on him, and backed by a coterie and full karyakartas of RSS. I've visited a couple of, constituencies. I've seen that. I'm covering RSS and its affiliates, the manner in which they work. There was a guy called Atul Limaye, who is a kind of a professional, left multinational, company, and now what is known as Pracharak in RSS, which is in the line of, say, third, fourth after Mr. Mohandra Bhagwat. So after the dismal performance of Mahayuti, particularly of BJP, what they did? They assigned Atul Limaye to just instill confidence, faith that we can turn the tables on Mahavikas Aghadi. And accordingly, just to tell to the viewers, in Maharashtra, there are 48 parliamentary constituencies, 288 assembly constituencies. Apart from, there are, 36 Jilla Parishads, 27 municipal corporations, more than 298 Nagar Parishads, and rest of, a lot of urban and local civil body. What they focus is that in Maharashtra, there are 103,000 booths. So, initially during the Lok Sabha, the BJP's campaign of reaching out to the Panna level and booth level got misfired. It did not work because of, what BJP went on telling, quote unquote, fake narrative of constitution change and scrapping of reservation. But because, BJP as well as RSS, their entire central leadership and the state leadership, basically headed by Devendra Fadnavis, they put the act together, tweak the entire poll management strategy and gone just on a 24/7 mode. On the other hand, undoubtedly, Mr. Sharad Pawar, at the age of 84, literally worked relentlessly, basically to weave into this kind of alliance so that, they can cash in on the success that they have got in Lok Sabha elections. He was the guy, after the Lok Sabha election, was insisting for the allies basically to wrap up this seat sharing. But ultimately, as usual, Congress still is under impression they are the only party which can rule, country, and having undoubtedly they have got presence across. But the mindset is still that. So they were having a major problem, basically enter into a kind of a seat sharing agreement. So also, Mr. Uddhav Thackeray led Shiv Sena. No doubt the sympathy factor worked in his favor during the Lok Sabha, but that was receded. So both the parties were on openly, war of words that led to kind of a puncturing of what the efforts Mr. Pawar was basically putting in to bring all those allies together and just stumped out a Mahayuti before the election, but that did not work. So at the same time, Congress committed again a blunder of not bringing in their might to the fore. Rahul Gandhi just came and addressed 4 rallies. Priyanka just came and addressed 2 rallies, 1 roadshow. On the other hand, the credit should be given to the BJP and the lot. I've got the list I covered sitting in Mumbai, also traveling in the constituencies. Mr. Narendra Modi addressed 10 rallies. Mr. Amit Shah addressed more than 21 rallies. Mr. Yogi Adityanath addressed around 26 rallies and a couple of their other, bogie of what they call the star pracharaks. Look at the strategy was well oiled. They had decided that, just to tell you, before the elections and of the Lok Sabha and later also, Maharashtra is having this pro-Maratha and pro-OBC reservation protests across. Manoj Jarange came into a limelight and hogging limelight basically of his repeated protests targeting BJP and Fadnavis. But BJP did a great calculation of luring OBCs. I must tell you here, during the days of Gopinath Munde and Pramod Mahajan, which I'm talking about 90s, there used to be a very prominent factor which used to work in favor of BJP was Madhav. Means what? Mali, Dhangar and Vanzari. They are all from OBCs. On base of that, BJP has definitely increased its presence, consolidated its position across. At this point in time also, Mr. Fadnavis, accompanied by the Union Minister for Environment, who was made a state in charge, Bhupendra Yadav, and co-in charge, Ashwini Vaishnav, concentrated on getting back to the OBCs and the subcastes. For the viewers, I must tell you, there are about 400 plus subcastes in OBCs. Mr. Yadav and Mr. Fadnavis took pains to basically hold more than 350 rallies of these smaller subcastes, which worked in its favor. On the other hand, Mahavikas Azadi was under the impression that as Manoj Jarange Patil had literally targeted Mr. Fadnavis and BJP, the Maratha will, en bloc or en masse will vote Mahavikas Azadi, but it went totally against, That's a quite an interesting, strategy BJP worked, and it has paid off. Just 2-3 points, and then I will summarize. It's quite interesting, why the BJP had engineered the splits, not just one in Shiv Sena as well as later Sharad Pawar in NCP. Despite that, they came to power. Like, there was a quote unquote Fadnavis, before the 2019 election, the last speech in the state legislature, I said, "Mi punah in," I will return back. He was ridiculed. He was taunted. A lot of taunts and, criticism was given. He kept quiet. Then the Mahavikas Agadi came to power. It was collapsed thanks to Mr. Fadnavis, and also because of the blessings from his 2 bosses in Delhi. He managed to get Mr. Eknath Shinde on, because it is not my statement. It's on record, Mr. Fadnavis in the legislature and outside had said, yes, I am definitely there in bringing Mr. Shinde on board, and also Mr. Ajit Pawar. What has changed later? In last 2.5 years, Eknath Shinde, a novice that way in the politics, his rise is quite meteoric. Since 1996-97, a rickshaw driver becoming the chief minister of Maharashtra, an ordinary Shiv Sainik stealing the show and running the government for 2.5 years, when Mr. Fadnavis preferred to join as a DCM. 3-4 interesting things happened. After the debacle in the Lok Sabha, what they came out is the Larki Bahan Yojana on the lines of Madhya Pradesh, giving 1,500 rupees to the eligible woman. What has transformed? 2.30 crore, 34 crore women got it. Although there is an issue of whether they are all eligible or not. Yesterday, Mr. Fadnavis at a press conference when I was there said that yes, en masse we will not definitely block or discontinue, but there is certainly a scope for examining and scrutinizing whether the ineligible lot has also come. Apart from that, Ajit Pawar, being a finance minister and a DCM, during the budget gave almost a lakh of, a crore of basically welfare and development scheme, which includes Ladki Behna, that helped basically to, weather the anti-incumbency. That's why, Mr. Fadnavis yesterday said it was not a, an issue of anti-incumbency. In fact, we won on a pro-incumbency because where the Mahavikas Aghadi just completely failed to take on Mahavyuti on this, in fact, on this front. Secondly, very interestingly, at a very thick of, campaigning, when this Mahayuti and Mahavikas were taking on each other, Yogi Adityanath, to be specifically tell you, on 6th of November, at his first rally in Vadarba, came out with that Batenge to Katenge. Thanks to RSS, definitely well-oiled plan and the entire strategy. He went on raking the issue, and to subside that, or maybe to supplement that, Mr. Prime Minister came with Ek Hai To Sab Hai, and it literally worked. In Marathwada, out of 46 Lok Sabha seats, basically 8 and the 46 assembly seats, BJP-led Mahayuti went to win almost 30 plus. 62 Vidarbha, before 2044, a Congress's bastion, now the BJP stronghold, there again, more than 44 seats. Batenge to Katenge, Ek Hai To Safe Hai work, and Mahayuti, all allies definitely went on, cashing in on the Ladki Band. All the majority of the women got ahead of Diwali 7,500 in directly deposited in their account. It literally worked. Mr. Pawar, Mr. Thackeray tried to rake up the issue of, and that is still relevant in Maharashtra, is burgeoning or rapidly rising farmer suicide. Secondly, the dip in the cost, basically the procurement price for cotton and soybean and basically the sugarcane. Thirdly, very interestingly, the mismatch between the cost of production and the actual procurement cost that they receive. I think, the farmers were happy that they have got at their family level 7,500, apart from that 600,000 rupees, annually paid under the Sanman Yojana, in addition to the Maharashtra government 6,000 rupees. So I think by and large, Mahayuti packaged this entire strategy thoroughly well, taking the position that they will be the winner, considering Mahavikas Aghadi is a kind of, a combination which are not so, prepared. In fact, because of their infighting, it got an opportunity for Mahayuti to, successfully reach out to the voters, exposing their internal bickering. And the last and not the least, quite interestingly, this was an opportunity for Mahavikas Aghadi to repeat this entire performance of the Lok Sabha. But they missed out on a couple of points, just 2-3 points. There was such a kind of a lethargy on the part of some of the senior leaders of the Mahavikas, particularly Congress and Shiv Sena, that they underestimated BJP and RSS combined lethal kind of a strategy to just enter into the booth level karyakarta. It worked. Second, very interestingly, what again they underestimated, there were differences between Mr. Fadnavis and Shinde, but despite that, they carried a kind of show whereby, putting a what quote unquote, samjhote ki rajniti ki unhone. That was a greater on their part. On the other hand, Mahavikas was pura jhagda chal raha tha. They were infighting, a war of words and, personal, in fact, vilification. And the third very interesting thing, Mahayuti also outsmarted Mahavikas Aghadi was, there was a kind of a combination of bringing in the state leaders as well as a combination of central leaders. It literally worked. But what had stopped Mahavikas Aghadi to carry on such kind of, experiment or strategy? They simply relied on, as a bus, Mahayuti is under attack on a various front. Like for example, the rising crime, basically rape and molestation. Badlapur incident is very much kind of a crooked one, where two minors were literally molested. Then the collapse of the Chhatrapati Shivaji, it was kind of a pride. Mr. Fadnavis, although tried to, tender an apology, it did not work initially, but ultimately they said nothing doing. As far as the Maharashtra is concerned, Chhatrapati Shivaji is the mentor, also a guide, on the lines of that, Swaraj, we are definitely going ahead, and I think it worked. So just to, in nutshell, Mahayuti, despite having that, debacle or drubbing in the Lok Sabha, they literally tweaked the strategy and it worked. On the other end, Mahavikas Aghadi just simply failed to cash in on that success which they have got in the Lok Sabha elections and ultimately faced the drubbing. And again, on that issue of what is going on about the EVM and that controversy, I think there is definitely a scope for a debate. Like, the other day, Mr. Abhishek Manu Sangvi and Nana Patole, our state chief of the Congress party, had made a presentation before the election commission, as they have invited. That issue is still pending. Baba Arao, a 95-year-old activist, has gone on 3-day fast, basically to create an awakening. I think, as a voter, there is definitely a kind of a question mark whether EVMs can be tampered or not. I'm not entering into this kind of political verbal duel, whether it can be done or whether it cannot be done. But as a journalist, I strongly feel that EVMs definitely are one of the quote unquote technologies that has been brought in after session, and it is working. But there is definitely a scope for improvement, and the election commission definitely have to work in that direction. On the other hand, I will strongly also feel political parties, instead of just coming out with or leveling charges and allegations against the quote unquote the autonomous and independent bodies like election commission, they should also act properly, wisely, and coming out a kind of a proper understanding among both ruling as well as opposition parties come around together and have got into this issue resolved for sake forever. I think just last but not the least, Maharashtra is definitely on a very interesting scenario, because we will have 5 years a stable government. There won't be a kind of an uncertainty. But on the other hand, Mr. Fadnavis has clearly said they will not judge opposition parties by their numbers, because they are just 50. And for the first time, Maharashtra may not have a leader of opposition. That's quite an ironical in a democratic setup like Maharashtra. So I will conclude here. Quite an interesting time in Maharashtra. But at the same time, as the opposition, Mr. Sharad Pawar or Mr. Thackeray has said, such ups and downs will definitely go on. Defeats and wins are definitely there. But it's an opportunity now for the opposition to again revive, rejuvenate, and take on certain very concrete issues that Mr. Fadnavis has said that government is also ready to talk and negotiate. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. That was an excellent analysis. And in fact, something that everybody here was wanting to understand, probably from the point of view of the people. I'll come back to you for Bengal. I would like to move to Anuj now to sort of complement what Sanjay ji has said and talk more about what people on the ground were saying and how did you feel, covering the election and what was striking for you this time?
Sakeen, it's very interesting that you put me after Mr. Jog, whose work we've all seen while growing up. I mean, he just talked about how he's got experience of close to 3-4 decades in journalism. I've got like only a grand total of 6 months of experience in journalism. So yeah, let's not have high expectations, but I'll try to bring in the points that I saw while covering this election in the last few months. Taking it on from where Mr. Jog left, especially about the Ladki Bahin Yojana. Now, this was the scheme which was introduced right after the debacle of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. And the mood in the state was very interesting back then, because although there was not a wave as such amongst the people when it comes to supporting the Mahavikas Aghadi as a whole, but the point made by Devendra Fadnavis right on the very next day when the results was out was very pertinent, and Mr. Jog also made a reference to it. He time and again tried to put forth two things in the minds of people. Firstly, although it might seem like a difference of 31 seats to 16 seats, which is a huge difference when you talk about it from the perspective of Lok Sabha. But at the end of it, the difference was only of less than 2% of votes in a majority of the seats and across the state. And that is what Fadnavis tried to, make people understand. Why does that become important? Is because uh, what I understood from going around is that, it's only some people sitting in, say, Pune, Bangalore, Nagpur, or places like these who would be very much interested in breaking down or analyzing an election after it's done. For a majority of the people here in the state, and dare I say in the country, it's a very hyper local issue centric politics that people are in that sway of. That is what they basically want, which is why the kind of percentage debate that Devendra Fadnavis tried to put in place was a very risky one, because there's a high chance that people would not really understand it. But it seems that they did. Number one. Number two, one word that became a key word, in Maharashtra's political terrain after the 2024 Lok Sabha election is fake narrative. Now, two narratives were used by the Mahavikas Aghadi. And when I say Mahavikas Aghadi, I also mean the leaders who came from Delhi to, campaign for them, be it several India Alliance leaders, including Arvind Kejriwal, who was in Mumbai right before the election, or even, of course, Rahul Gandhi, amongst many others. There were two narratives that were being tried to spread. One was about how the constitution is in threat, and second was about how there has been a large scale marginalization of SC, ST people here in the state. Now, Devendra Fadnavis took again a very risky ball and said that these are all fake narratives. And to counter that, we saw him introducing something, or he or his party introduced something like Ek Hai To Safe Hai, which seemed to have worked in the larger scheme of things. So, in the 5 months that the Bharatiya Janata Party led Mahayuti got to prepare for the state assembly election, we see that they did very quickly learn from the kind of mistakes they had made in the Lok Sabha election and made amends to it. But we were talking about Maji Ladki Bahin Yojana, and right, literally few weeks after the debacle of the Lok Sabha election, we saw them introduce this bill, and it was received in a very mixed manner. Not just by people here in the urban parts of the city, but by people across the state. When you talk about promises, because uh, in the age of social media, in the age of news getting passed on very quickly from one source to the other, it is very easy for people to know that certain schemes have been introduced at the face of election. But one thing that has been the Bharatiya Janata Party's strong point, not just in Maharashtra but across the country, has been their efficient delivery mechanism. And we talk about the ideological debate. We talk about the debate surrounding communalism, debate surrounding all the other things. But what we forget to understand is that it is a delivery mechanism and infrastructural development, number one, and marketing of that development that the Bharatiya Janata Party is very efficient in doing, right? When you talk about Mumbai, we have the coastal road. Now, coastal road might have started, the construction might have started long ago in someone else's government. But then the way Eknath Shinde and Devendra Fadnavis would go on talking about it, no one in Maharashtra would believe that anyone else would have any sort of contribution to building coastal road. And of course, things like Samruddhi Mahamarg, which is a very ambitious road project to connect important cities across the state. It has the credit of it goes to the Bharatiya Janata Party led Mahayuti government. And such delivery mechanism, efficient delivery mechanism, worked out for the BJP in this last 5 or 6 months. They made sure that the eligibility criteria was put in place, but it wasn't followed very strictly if you look at it. Right? Only yesterday, when Devendra Fadnavis was speaking in a press conference, a traditional press conference, which is supposed to take place right after the oath taking ceremony, he was asked a very important question about, now that the election is done, and now that it's been 5 or 6 months since the scheme has been in place, will the criteria be strengthened or tightened a little bit? His answer to that was quite unclear, but that is where the entire politics of Maji Ladki Bahin Yojana lies. Now, from what original criteria they gave in the month of June, July, it is expected to help women who are extremely depressed when it comes financially, right? But it was in the beginning, it was made available for a majority of the women, if not all the women. It was very difficult for the opposition, that is the Mahavikas Aghadi, to spread this narrative about the eligibility criteria or how it is going to be tightened later on. But that is where the BJP played their trick with the kind of campaigning they did, as Sanjay sir also talked about, because they were able to bludgeon the thought of social welfare schemes, even if they were at the backdrop of elections, even if they were at the backdrop of not just Maharashtra election, but also BMC election, which is again a very pertinent issue here in Mumbai, especially, and it does kind of determine a lot of political activities here in the state. And countering that seemed a little difficult for the Mahavikas Aghadi. Now, when you talk about last 5 months, uh, several things happened here in the state, which to an observer would have hinted that there is a rising amount of anger or discontent against the government. There have been, of course, mentions made by it by the previous speaker, but I'd like to elaborate on it a little more. It all started with the incident that took place in Badlapur, because what happened in Badlapur, two children. I was there covering it when that entire railway line was blocked by the people, and there was stone pelting which was taking place. We had Devendra Fadnavis is very close aide, Girish Mahajan going and talking to the people, asking them to come back. And the visuals from there went viral all across the state. And why is that important is because Badlapur should not be seen as a one-off incident when you talk about women's safety in Maharashtra. Women's safety across the country has been a point of concern. But especially in Maharashtra, it was seen as an example of how the law and order situation in the state had reached a point right before elections where people had no other choice but to come out on the street. And mind you, this is still very fresh to what had happened in Kolkata to a nurse, right? So the entire atmosphere in the country was very emotional at that particular point of time. Uh, that is where the opposition failed to capitalize. Right now, the reasons for this is probably best known to them. But when we were talking amongst our circles, they were all chatter about how this is the best or opportunity for the opposition to lead a movement, to start an initiative, that to a statewide initiative, because the anger was very palpable, Sakleen, and to all the listeners, of course. It was extremely palpable. It was very, people were ready to take on any kind of movement that would have been started by the opposition back then. But a concrete pan Maharashtra narrative supporting the safety or policy supporting the safety of women could not see. We only had the opposition talking about how the Shakti Kaida or the Shakti law, which is the product of the previous MVA government, should be brought in place. But again, the discussion was more on policy level, right? It was very little about how you would want to use the anger of the people in a very interesting way so that you can get some electoral gains from it. That is one example. And the another very important thing that happened in the state was the fall of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's statue in Raigad. Now, I'm sure that everyone here in this meeting is aware of the legend, but such kind of an incident, if it would have taken place in any other part of the country, if in any other non-BJP ruled part of the country, uh, the entirety of Maharashtra would have come on the street, right? Again, that is where we saw the opposition be in a very confused state. Again, people were ready to take on this movement, right? When you talk about people, Mumbai is still a very cosmopolitan zone. A lot of people here have come from outside. But when you talk about people in Vidarbha, the people in Paschim Maharashtra, that is the Western Maharashtra, which has got some of the more developed agrarian states. When you talk about the place where I come from, that is Northern Maharashtra, people were angry. And what added to their anger was the visuals of the fallen statue going viral. Another thing that happened is that it is one of the rare instances which made Prime Minister Narendra Modi apologize in public. We haven't really seen that happen a lot. So it clearly showed that after the Badlapur incident, it was a very important or period and an opportunity for the opposition to kind of hit the rod because the iron was very hot, but that could not happen for reasons best known to them. That could never really happen. Now, as a political lead up to the elections, another thing that we need to understand is about the dynamics between the different parties in Mahavikas Aghadi and Mahayuti, uh, and the perception that the people had amongst them. When, right few days before the election, I traveled to some districts in Western Maharashtra, and I also went to Northern Maharashtra primarily to see what was the impact of the soybean issue. Soybean issue seems to have died out, especially from the media right after the elections, but it became a very pertinent topic literally days before the election, right? And that is where all the observers, all the civic societies, and all the critiques of the government thought that again another opportunity has been presented to the government or to the opposition to attack the government and to lock horns in a very direct manner. And because this is one issue that I covered from public, I knew that it was affecting the people in its most real sense. Now, when you look at the post-electoral or post-election analysis of this particular 230 miraculous result that went in favor of the Mahayuti, a lot of people talk about how there was a so-called farmers' distress because it did not really translate into votes, right? Because where was this distress in its had its most impact? Like which farmers did it impact the most? It was farmers in the western Vidarbha region, and it was farmers in, of course, the Marathwada region. These are the two regions of the state which are very densely populated and also are some of the most financially depressed places of this region, and they've also voted in favor of the Mahavikas Agadi in the last Lok Sabha election. So everyone thought that 70, 80 odd districts where people solely rely on on the products which are not getting enough price in the market will again show their power through electoral means and vote against the Bharatiya Janata Party. I was going amongst the people, and I could pick up two things from them. Firstly, the anger was there, right? The distress was there, regardless of what people would say now. But at least from my experience of traveling to 2 to 3 districts, people did talk about how it's not just soya bean, but it's about how the overall, you know, appreciation or acknowledgement to farmers in the last 10 years had gone down, be it the issue about MSPs, be it the issue about the fertilizers getting more expensive, be about the lack of space that has been present in the farmers market, and about how the farmers have to be dependent on weather conditions day in day out uh, without substantial help from the government machinery, right? So these are some problems which can, in any ideal situation, really bring down any sort of government down. But then that alongside, there was also a thought about how the whole caste dynamics was playing against Devendra Fadnavis, who's a Brahmin face, and this was happening at the backdrop of the Maratha reservation debate. Both these things were there on ground, but electorally it did not really yield the result that they would have liked to, and that is why we are seeing so many voices talking about the EVM, so many voices talking about how there have been problems with the way ECI has conducted things. Well, we need more prima facie reasons and evidence to believe in that. But one thing is for sure, that the opposition as a whole, failed to completely capitalize on the anger which was served to them in platter.
Well, Anuj, that was an excellent, analysis per se about what people on the ground thought, and a very different point of view from mainstream understanding. Well, be that as it may, I would like to, quickly move to Sanjay ji to talk about Bengal in a quick point of view for people to understand, so that we can move to Q&A. The audience is, they've already started sending questions, Sanjay ji. I would like to close it real quick.
Yeah. Sakal, very interestingly, it was like a Kela Hobe with a difference. Mamta and TMC are definitely under attack on several fronts after that Archie medical incident. What has been happening. There has been practically everyday agitation from the doctors, from the NGOs, from the BJP, which is at the forefront to take on Mamta and isolate her. But despite that, Mamta's party managed to win 6 seats. How? I'm not interested in that. They have already overpowered and outsmarted BJP. One thing, the reality is there. I'm not again here entering into any kind of a war of words. That's the job of political parties. Let BJP does that. But purely taking on whatever is happening on the ground, Mamta's TMC managed to get 6 seats. Second interesting thing, BJP will never give up. I've covered BJP for now almost more than 3 decades. What is beauty of BJP is that despite lot of sufferings or electoral debacles, defeats, humiliation, taunting, personal criticism, they will never give up. So even though they have lost these 6 seats, it does not mean that it's kind of a comfort zone for TMC or Mamta ahead of coming ahead of the next elections. Very interesting. At the same time, BJP is focusing on not just the law and order scenario, administrative collapse, at the same time financial collapse, and basically Mamta as a strong leader, that the image she has created, BJP is bent upon to demolish that image. And partially they have succeeded, partially they will take it on further as the elections comes nearer. Secondly, on the part of TMC, no doubt, after the Lok Sabha's, whatever BJP tried to corner her, but despite that, she definitely had a kind of a sigh of relief, as she definitely outsmarted the BJP in the Lok Sabha and now in the 6 by-elections. That does not mean the challenges are over for TMC. Two, three interesting points. A, Mamta will definitely have to focus on reaching out to the communities, not just as a pro-Muslim or a minorities, but encompassing all sections. A. Second, very interestingly, what's happening at the TMC level is that, quote unquote, as I talked to a couple of their guys who are in the Rajya Sabha or maybe a Lok Sabha, although I'm in Mumbai, but I've got sources because of I do cover, sitting in Mumbai, the parliamentary consultative committees and parliamentary standing committees. That's how I managed to get a lot of guys on board. Two, three interesting, this thing that, during the discussions I could learn is that Mamta will definitely have to bring up a couple of other new faces in the party instead of relying on the old guard. Third, very interestingly, there is definitely a kind of a mismatch which is growing between the old guard and what is popularly known as young Turks. That is creating a problem at the organizational level. Four, very interestingly, her image as a doer, a street smart lady and a leader undoubtedly still is there, but she will have to definitely tweak her kind of a style of working as well as, poll management while taking on quote unquote mighty BJP, which is ruling, most of the states across the country and at the center. When it comes to BJP, quite interesting, BJP undoubtedly, had changed their earlier state president. Now their leader of opposition is at the front, basically taking head on to Mamta and TMC. But what is also lacking, which I speak to a couple of guys in BJP, is that they are yet to arrive at a scenario wherein they can directly take on forcefully and fiercely Mamta. And for that, they will have to, and they are still relying on their top leadership, including Mr. Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. Look at the statements Amit Shah Ajit also make when it comes to Bengal, the riots, quote unquote, the law and order situation, which is again allegedly deteriorating, and couple of other scenarios. So as far as BJP is concerned, in the coming days, this is an opportunity basically to convert the odds into an opportunity. But while basically for TMC and Mamta, it is definitely and certainly an opportunity while focusing on not just rejuvenating the organization, but at the same time giving new faces a kind of an opportunity basically to grow and widen the base across the sections. And the thirdly, very interestingly, when it comes to TMC, although she is into India, but she differs when it comes to, say, seat sharing, or when it comes to Bengal, as far as the sharing of the seats as well as arriving at the poll arrangement. But at the national level, she may not like to disassociate. What is happening locally, which I could gather speaking to a couple of their MPs and leaders, is that, people are definitely not certainly looking at whether Mamta will continue to trade a path on her own, or she will like to be a part of India bloc, not necessarily to be, playing an active role in policy making and its implementation. I think there is kind of a sense of a dual role, which is causing a kind of a confusion among the Bengal voters. I think she will have to come clean on that. And when it comes to Congress, pathetic scenario, former leader in the Lok Sabha was defeated, still unable to learn the lessons of rejuvenating, rebuilding the organization. I think this is going to be again a tough period for Congress party, basically to remain quote unquote relevant and stay afloat. And last but not the least, when it comes to BJP, BJP will not give up. They will definitely expedite or rejuvenate, go on tweaking their own strategies while reaching out to the voters in mass, exposing the appeasement politics, at the same time taking it to Vikasit Bharat model. Quite interesting combination they are working. So I still believe it is definitely Khela Hobe is going to happen ahead of the next assembly elections, but it is going to be, and certainly going to be, a match between a fighter in the form of, Mamata, at the same time, not just a loser, but again, working with a resolve to get back West Bengal in their kitty, that is BJP. So fascinating time ahead. You'll have to wait and analyze as, both the, combinations come out their own strategies. I think I will stop here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was on point, actually. And I think that's precisely how it went over there in Bengal. Now we would quickly open for Q&A. I think I would be moving forward to Mr. Ram Desai. I think he has, a lot of questions to ask. And if he's on the call, he could speak about his questions, please. Mr. Ram Desai.
Yeah. Hi, thanks, Shakline. Good evening to all the participants.
Good evening.
My first question to Sanjay Jog is, in Maharashtra, there are around about 8 to 9 poorest districts in Vidarbha and in southern southeast part of Maharashtra, compared to the western districts, where the per capita income of the districts is almost 4x compared to the poorest districts. In fact, the poorest districts are even poorer than some of the districts of Bihar. So, or West Bengal. Okay, so I want to be politically correct. Otherwise, people will unnecessarily pounce on me. So, West Bengal or Bihar. So now the thing is, how do you think the new government should tackle? That's my first question. My second question is it time that states like Maharashtra and UP should be split because they have become too large to be governed centrally from one headquarters? They are almost twice the size of a couple of countries. Okay, so from that perspective, is it time that those states also to be split? Anyhow, the two questions are separate, but go
I
ahead,
would request
please.
the panelists to be a little crisp in the answers because we're on short of time and we have a lot of questions to cover.
Yeah, Sakalan, very interesting. One interesting point. Out of the 36 districts, as Mr. Desai has said, when I have been tracking this Maharashtra from very interesting from the geographical point, from the agricultural area, industrial services, and when it comes to again the same theory of increasing divide between the rural and poor, and what we call also as a human improvement development HID improvement index. As Mr. Desai correctly pointed out, of the basically 10 constituencies, parliamentary constituencies of Vidarbha and 62 assembly constituencies, there are prominently from the eastern and western Vidarbha, some of the districts like Yavatmal, Amravati, you will find the farmers' distress growing in, and there is a regional imbalance which is definitely happening. Same thing with Marathwada. Look at the per capita income and the human development index in a district called Usmanabad, or now which is known as Dharashiv, and also a part of Hingoli, which is a Banjara community dominated district. As you rightly said, what has been happening is that we have got a couple of development corporations or statutory development boards under the Act, and the governor is definitely looking at the allocation of the funds and guiding the states basically to earmark to remove such kind of regional imbalances. As you rightly pointed out, what is missing is, unfortunately, the industrial location or the development which is happening in what, for the readers and the viewers, I should tell you, around Golden Triangle. What do you mean by that? It is just happening around Mumbai, Pune, Aurangabad, which is now known as the Sambhajinagar, and also partly Nashik. Unless and until this, industrialization shift to the remotest part of Vidarbha and underdeveloped region of Marathwada, as you said, there will be a less scope basically for improvement in the economic cycle and also increase in the pace of development in that region. I think I will stop here because there are a lot of things that can be discussed, but we have got a limited time. Second, as you talked about, whether the Maharashtra can be split into two, you may recall, since, Vidarbha basically, was after this 1960 Maharashtra came into existence, part of the Vidarbha used to be in the central province. So after Vidarbha, joined, part of this was incorporated, we have got a tradition that every winter, basically, a winter session of the state legislature takes place in Nagpur, which is the second capital of Maharashtra. The idea is basically that the legislative assembly and the legislative council members give enough time to take up the issues faced by Vidarbha. There are multiple issues, still the lack of industry. The Mihan project, a multi kind of a project, hub project, which is being talked about for more than now 10 to 15 years, has yet to gather the momentum. Also, the industries in basically now, quite interesting, despite having the Naxal-infested, infamous region called Chandrapur and Gadchiroli, you will find slowly and steadily, because of the local participation, the industrialization is happening. There is a huge kind of a cement project which is coming in, the steel project which is coming in. You may be aware Vidarbha is like an energy generation hub of the Maharashtra. Of the total of more than, say, if I count just the state generation companies of more than 25,000 megawatt, including the national thing, the most of the energy thermal base is generated in Vidarbha. So, this demand for separate Vidarbha is happening, but there is no will unless and until the Vidarbhites unite and just come out on the roads. But at the same time, the state, government here sitting in Mumbai, which is the national and the financial capital of the country, they still definitely want that a kind of a development that is needed in Vidarbha and Maratha can be achieved in just 2 minutes. I'll take by increasing the pace of industrialization in taking shift, not just as I told you, devoted to Golden Triangle, but taking to that. I'll tell you very interestingly, a subsidy of 1,000 crore is given in Vidarbha and Marathwada. You may not be knowing, basically to promote industrialization with a lower energy traffic. That's a kind of a very interesting initiative. But still, because of the economic other factors and the viability of these, ventures, industrialists are reluctant to go there. Second, very interestingly, in Vidarbha, there is a huge kind of a potential, basically to promote the industries around the coal mining area. Also, the industry is basically into the orange and related activity. Thirdly, basically cotton and weaving and the textile hub. So it is happening now, Wardha and around. So also in Marathwada. Now, what we have got is like on the lines of Gift City, we have got a very interesting new kind of an industrial area which is coming in Aurangabad or Shendra area. I think this kind of initiatives, if the present Devendra Fadnavis government takes in, there will be definitely an opportunity and a scope to increase the pace. And the last but not least, this government is focusing on interlinking of rivers. At the same time, we have got 84,000 crore of a project which has been cleared by the central cabinet and the previous Mahavyuti government, basically to link the rivers basically from North Maharashtra and the Marathwada. I think that will make a kind of a sea change, making the Marathwada in particularly a drought-free area, so also Maharashtra. So just to conclude, there are multiple initiatives, multiple decisions which have already been taken. What we are looking at with the quote-unquote stable government that Mr. Fadnavis had talked about, the focus has to be on implementation.
Perfect. I think it was a very concise answer. I think we'll move to the last question, and I would ask Mr. Vijay Prasad to come in on this question by Sharanya and give his closing remarks. It's an interesting question, I think, directed directly towards the Bharatiya Janata Party. Slogans like Batenge to Katenge primarily appeal to the Hindu voters. By framing this as a winning strategy, does it not alienate the minority communities and reinforce perceptions of bias within the BJP's approach, or is it an open strategy now? Is a common question that everybody's asking. Mr. Prasad, I would like you to come in on that. Please unmute the mic. Yes.
Okay. I think the question from Sanjana, right, or Sharanya?
From Sharanya, please.
Okay. Sharanya, if you read the slogan, Batenge to Katenge, you'll be fine. If you read it as like Mallikarjun Kharge, what he read, Batenge to Katenge, then you have a problem. Okay. You have to see in what we call it as in Kannada, Vaggattinalli Balavide. We have unity in unity. Okay. When you call it as unity, you don't say that we are differentiating, we are alienating Muslims. No, we are not doing that. We are just bringing everyone together. That is the reason precisely why I said Batenge to Katenge. If you read it like that, you don't have a problem. If you read like what Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge read it as Batenge to Katenge, then you have literally a problem. Okay, I will end my argument there. Okay, and as far as the summary of Sanjay and Anuj, I think they have very well summarized Maharashtra elections in a very concise manner. At the same time, what I would like to say here is they have sent some indirect messages. Politics, BJP takes every election from panchayats to parliament very seriously. BJP takes every elections, no complacency in any of the elections as far as is concerned. But it's not like Rahul Gandhi who comes and sleep in the parliament. It is not for him. So BJP takes every elections, every administration very seriously, and we are under the leadership of Modi government, we are taking India to the third largest economy in the world. If third largest economy in the world, we have to achieve that. We have to improve states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, most of the states we have to improve. But in 2023, when we gave the state when we lost the elections, Congress came to power. Okay. When we were in power, when BJP was in power, Karnataka was #1 in foreign direct investment. Within 18 months, Congress has ensured that 48% of FDI is reduced. That is one thing. And second thing, no new investment is coming into Karnataka. The semiconductor industries, 3 went to Gujarat, 1 went to Assam. Why? Because the environment in Karnataka under the Congress government, under the Siddaramaiah government is not conducive to do the business. That is the reason, and the policies that you have, and the divisive politics, and the crumbling infrastructure. These are the things that making the investors to move to other states where the business environment or the government policies is very good. That is the reason. And you tell me that is the reason why I precisely asked the Congress representative whether the Siddaramaiah government can bring in a white paper as far as the the development of Karnataka is concerned. I would like to make this point, Mohammed. I'll keep it very crisp and simple.
Well, sir, that was on point. And, what I would like to understand is that, how people look at it differently, how every parties look at it differently, and what people on the ground level are looking at is, how exactly our country is growing. And I think Politics for a Change stands for that, to understand what all parties want to say, what people who are literate, what people who are in the field, the stakeholders have to say. Well, the panelists have been fantastic today. I thank each one of you, Bhavya ji, Anuj, Sanjay ji, and Mr. Prasad. You guys were on point in conveying the right kind of message to the people so that our, the viewers and our audience understood this. Thank you all for joining us on this webinar, our drum room. We will have more coming in, and we expect a lot more participation from you guys. And join us on our group and our community, interact with our people, and of course take this movement forward, because this is not about any inclination or an ideology. This is about people, this is about citizens, and this is about an informed citizenry and a more developed and a more informed and updated country, and of course a youth that is ready to lead the nation in all spheres. Once again, thank you all for joining us on this webinar. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
In the next one. This is Sakleen signing off. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sakleen.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Participants.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Okay, bye.
Thank you.